Now, just a couple of administrative things. It is about 2:30 right now. I expect we'll probably finish about 3:30. So if anybody's thirsty, we have water here. And if people come in, we'll probably stop for a few minutes, let them get seated. And so it's going to be a few minutes until we really get started. So as people are filtering in, that's fine. And I keep having a problem with my flash keeps coming on my iPad, so I hope that thing doesn't die, but I'll have to take care of that at some point. All right, so let's go ahead and let's get started with the meeting. The first thing I want to ask you is everybody here a voter? Anybody here not voted before? Okay, is anybody new to Washington State? Are you familiar with Washington State politics? Okay, well, today I'm going to be explaining a few things to you that may be new to you or that may not. But the thing is right now, and why I'm here, is because we are in a lot of trouble. And I don't think I need to explain too much about the kind of trouble that we are in. Of course, when you go to the gas station, the price of gas has gone through the roof, which has pushed everything else up. We're also having problems filling jobs because the government has spent so much money giving people free money that they don't want to work. I never got any of this free money, and I'd sure like some, but I wasn't one of those lucky ones. But there are a lot of people out there who say, why should I go to work if the government's just going to support me? So what we're seeing right now, and I don't need to go too much into this, is that the government has spent so much money, and they didn't spend it, they printed it. They printed so much money and they said, oh, this is no problem. This is going to fix the economy. So we're going to talk a little bit about the thinking behind that. But the fact of the matter is, these people don't understand anything about economics. They don't understand what stimulus actually was originally meant to do and how people in the United States, especially the conservative politicians, says the government does not have the power to do that. Because once they start handing out free money, well, that is the road to slavery, and that is not the path that most Americans want to take. Now, I know that today things are a lot different than they were, say, back in the Great Depression when they first started deficit spending. Back then, people did not trust the government. Unfortunately, today, we have an entire school system, the university system. Everything is based on the government is good and private business is bad. Well, the problem with that thinking is that if there's no private business, nobody's paying taxes. And that's what the issue is today. And the more they're spending this money, the more people are not working and the more people are not paying taxes. So who is going to pay the bill? Well, if you're a kid, you are going to grow up with a huge debt burden on you. And I know that when Trump was elected, the deficit was like $20 trillion. I mean, that's unfathomable, right? Well, Biden pushed it up to past $30 trillion that people think, oh, it's just free money and whatever, but it's not free because what they have to do to make people think, oh, these little paper units that have these president's pictures on them, well, they aren't worth anything unless they bring up the interest rates. So we're going to be talking about a little bit about economics today, but we're going to talk about what I think are some of the major issues affecting all of us. And if you don't agree, or if you'd like to comment, go ahead, raise your hand, or just speak up. I'd be glad to hear what you have to say. So let me start off by saying again, thank you guys for coming out. I know it's a very beautiful day outside, and I personally, if I wasn't on the campaign trail, I'd be out in the woods camping or doing something fun. I'd be out on my boat or something enjoyable, but America's in trouble, and I, like a lot of my fellow veterans, are answering the call. We are going to go to Congress, and we are going to put this country back in order. So let's start talking about me for a little bit. I don't want to bore you too much, but just a little bit on my background. I grew up in Sequim, Washington. a very small town over on the coast. A lot of people know it, a lot of people don't. About 3,500 when I was growing up, really small town. In fact, our house was so small, you had to go outside just to change your mind. It was that bad, that small, yeah. But anyway, on the serious side, I grew up in a small town, and we were taught traditional American values. If you work hard, if you get a college education, you can get ahead. But that seems to not be happening anymore. Now, nobody wants to work, and certainly nobody wants to work hard, and so what that has produced is a lot of problems. So we're going to start talking about them now so that I don't have to keep you here all day. Just a little bit more about my background. I graduated in 1982. There's a little story behind that. But I joined the U.S. Army and I served. I went through jump school, I went through Special Forces training, and I did most of my time in the 82nd Airborne as a paratrooper. I carried a machine gun. I was in places like the Sinai Peninsula, Panama, and of course lovely Fort Bragg, North Carolina. After I got out of the Army, and the reason I joined the Army was because I did not have the money to go to college. And the Army was offering a program where they would match funds that you put in, they put in, etc. And at the end of your term, you got, X amount of dollars for college. Which I thought, boy, that's going to be a fortune, But when I actually started college, it was about enough to pay rent and maybe a few groceries, and that was it. And I had to find other ways to pay for tuition, etc., which, you know what happens there. But anyway, I said that there is no way I am not going to finish college because everybody seems to have a college degree. And I saw that in the Army. I saw these officers, and I'm not trying to disparage anybody, but I saw a lot of these officers that were not very good soldiers. But you know what they were? They were college graduates. And I said, you know what? If you have that college degree, if you have that sheepskin, you can do anything. But if you don't have it, they're going to close those doors on you. So to me, the one thing that I thought that I could do to make the world a better place was to go into education. So I said
to have access to education. After I graduated, actually, let me just tell you this, because this really is one of the problems with our school systems right now. Before I graduated, our instructors told us, if you are a white male, don't think you're going to get a job teaching unless you coach something. And I was going, what? I spent 4 years in the Army jumping out of airplanes. I sacrificed and starved and lived in the woods and the dirt so I could get a college degree. I came to Alaska, I'm freezing my you-know-what off to get a master's degree. And now you're telling me it's not going to be any good, that they're going to discriminate against me because I'm white and I don't coach something? Because I was too poor to play games when I was growing up. Well, yeah, that was the reality of it. And they said, that's just tough luck. I would just get another degree, but don't try to teach history. Let me repeat that. Don't try to teach history unless you're a coach. Now look around you. Look at all of these demented young kids that have no understanding of how our system works, how our government works, and they're out there protesting, tearing things down. They hate everybody, they hate everything, because they don't understand anything. And all of that they do understand, and the only information that they get is from the fake media. And we know that it's all lies. If you're about my age, you've lived through Vietnam, you lived through the Nixon impeachment, you lived through Reagan and Carter and all these people. And every time you vote for somebody, it's supposed to get better. But in actuality, it only gets worse. And that's why we're here today, because it cannot possibly keep getting worse. And if we don't do something now to fix this, it's going to get real bad, and it's going to get real bad real fast. So, let's see. I think I finished off with my thing about education. Okay, yeah. So I taught in the countries, I taught in Alaska, And I remember they said, don't try to get a job because, you know, if you teach social studies and you're white and you don't coach, well, you're not going to get a job. Forget it. And I actually scored on my teacher competency exams for a social studies teacher. I was in the 94th percentile for the country, right? Nobody cared about that. It was all, when I went to a job interview, what do you coach and what experience do you have? Well, I don't have any experience, but I need experience. Well, you don't coach. So how am I going to give you experience? So it was just this dog chasing its tail kind of thing.
And I was run through the gristmill. I worked in so many school districts, and it was all, you know, I could sub every day. I could substitute and coach and do all these things. But get a full-time job? No, you're white. And, you know, and then there's other things too, like my religion. They apparently don't like Christians in the school districts anymore, so that was a big minus point for me. So what did I do? I said, you know what, I really want to teach. So after September 11th of 2001, which I didn't buy
September 11th for a second, and so I got on an airplane. I took a job teaching in a country called Oman, which if you know about Dubai, it is right near Dubai. And the fact of the matter was, I had a great time. I have a lot of great friends from that country. I had a great experience. And I was never, I mean, I'm in much more danger in the United States than I would ever be in a Middle East country. And that's just the fact. And you can say, oh, that's, you know, not true, whatever.
Because you haven't been there. But the fact of the matter is, I was much safer because people looked out for me, because I was the only American. So they looked out for me and they took care of me, and I could do anything I wanted. I could camp. I had a wonderful girlfriend. It was just awesome. And if you want to read more about that, read my book, My Year in Oman, or Another Year in Oman. I also worked as a military trainer in Saudi Arabia. I worked for Northrop Grumman, and I also worked for the Raytheon Corporation. So I spent 13 years, almost 14 years teaching in Saudi Arabia and Oman. And then we came home. I got married in Oman, and my wife and I came home, and guess what? We had to spend thousands of dollars, and we'll talk about this in a little bit, but we had to spend thousands of dollars and wait 5 years for my wife to get her citizenship. Why? I don't know why, but you can go across, you can walk across the border from Mexico, and you can get welfare, you can get your citizenship.
But they'll steal thousands of dollars from Americans who follow the rules. And that, my friends, is where we're going to start today. Because if we don't have a country of laws, we don't have a country. What we have is we have chaos. And what will happen in chaos, and it's happened in every country, every power that has ever existed in the history of the world, it always goes to a totalitarian regime, and that is what they want for you. They don't want you to have any rights. They don't want you to have a business unless you are contributing to them. And I think we know who we're talking about, and we all experienced this China virus epidemic.
My name is Matthew Heines. I'm a veteran. I'm a veteran of the 82nd Airborne. I took the oath, and I'm here to defend my state from the communist Jay Inslee.